Okay, so when you're ready, bring yourself to stand and let's get going. Straighten my mat out. Okay, so we're going to start in that tandem stand that we sometimes use. So where you've got one foot in front of the other, so as if you're stood on a tightrope, yeah, so your feet are in this sort of position. Now, if you find that that's a little bit tricky, just separate your feet ever so slightly, just so that you're just staggering that distance, okay? Now, to begin with, we're just going to set our posture in this position. Doesn't matter which foot's in front because we're going to swap it over in a moment. Now, you'll probably find most of your weight to just drop back into your back leg. So I want you just to see if you can bring your weight into the centre of both feet, okay? And then from here, just start to do some pelvic tilts. Now, you'll notice how unsteady any movement makes you feel. So just work into what you can comfortably, knowing that even just practicing these movements is going to challenge your core. And then stop somewhere in between those two movements so that your back feels, your pelvis is resting level. Relax your arms down by your side and begin just to roll through your shoulders. Now, as you make those shoulder rolls, I want you to start to think about growing as tall as you can. So imagine a piece of string is just pulling you up towards the ceiling. Keep rolling through those shoulders. Let's just release the tension from the day. Breathing deeply as you move. And if you want to, you can just start to bring a gentle awareness beneath your belly button towards your spine or through your pelvic floor or both. Okay, we're going to use this next shoulder roll just to set those shoulders down and into our back pocket. So you're just gently drawing your shoulder blades down and together as you open out through the collarbones. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, see if you can take your gaze over to one shoulder, staying as steady as you can. Remember, you can separate your feet if you need to. And then come back to the centre and take your gaze over to the opposite side. Good. Keep that shoulder posture nice and open. The shoulders are heavy. We come back to the centre and we glance back to that first side again. Remember, gently drawing the tummy to the spine or lifting through the pelvic floor. And then we glance back to that second side, breathing deeply through out. Okay, looking forwards, the head is placed nice and lifted on top of the shoulders. We take one hand and we reach down to the outside of the leg. Watch your balance, see how low you can go. Feel the separation of the rib cage and the waist on the opposite arm. Try not to let that top shoulder lift up, keep those shoulders down. And then we grow tall back to the centre. Breathe in, and as we breathe out, we go down to that second side. So feeling those small adjustments that your feet and ankle are making. Strengthening those feet up as we go. Go back to that first side, grow tall, and then reach down to the floor. Little weights in your fingertips. Don't worry if you lose your balance. Join back in when you're ready. We're going to take that top arm. We're going to reach it over the top just to lengthen through the side of the body a little bit more. Good. Then come back to the centre, bring the arm down. Whoop, there we go. And we go to that second side. So slowly down. And then we reach up and over. Nice. Okay, we come back to the centre. Keeping the feet where they are, we're going to start to roll down whilst we bring a little bit more weight into the front foot. So I'll just show you side on. Starting tall, we peel down through the spine. Remember, we're trying to get those bones moving one at a time. We come down over the front leg, rolling down. We'll do a couple of these so you can build up into them. Go as far as you can, comfortably, keeping your balance. And then slowly stacking yourself back up to stand. Come to the top, reset your posture, and then repeat. Slowly down, roll, roll, rolling down over that front leg. You should feel that that brings a little bit more of a lengthening through the front leg. But still challenging that balance. And then slowly come back up to stand. Super. Okay. Bring yourself back to stand. then we're going to try that all on the opposite side now. So bring your feet apart and then swap over. So you've got the opposite foot in front, opposite foot behind. I'm going to come and see how you're getting on with this second side. So just to begin with, set your posture, do a few of those pelvic tilts, find that neutral pelvis, and then bring your weight in between your feet. So you're not sitting too far back or too far forwards. Okay, grow tall through the spine, lengthening through the neck with the chin gently tucked towards the neck, and then breathe and roll through those shoulders. Now see if you can remember, I think I did backwards rolls last time, so I'm going to do forwards rolls this time. So you can either join me and change direction, or you can do what feels good for you, because this is all about opening up those necks and shoulders. Well done, looking good. Okay, keep it going, ladies and gents. Nice work. Okay, so after this next one, we're going to roll those shoulders and set them down into your back pockets. Now make sure, so we've been doing those forwards rolls, we don't want those shoulders rounded. So we're going to open out through the fronts of the shoulders. Imagine your collarbones have got two sort of strip lights attached to them. You want to really open that light towards the room. Once you've found that position, gently draw your tummy towards your spine or lift through your pelvic floor. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, we're looking over to one shoulder. And then we come back to the front. It's really nice, I've got the windows open, I can hear the birds. We're going to go over to the second side. Remember, gently tucking in through the lower tummy or the pelvic floor. Come back to the front and then go back to your first side. Don't worry if you lose your balance, just re-find it, reset and join back in. And then we go across to the second side. Super. Okay, we come back to the centre, keeping that head lengthened up through the spine. And then we come into those side bends, slowly reaching down to the outside of the leg, lengthening through the side of the body. And we grow tall. Breathe in and breathe out as you reach down. Really try and reach down past the outside of your knee if you can. Watch that top shoulder one's just crept up for some reason. Okay, let's go back over to that first side, maybe adding in that reach over with the top arm, making sure that the neck stays nice and open. So we're not here, we're going to be here. Good. Find your balance and go again, and then coming over to that second side. So bringing the arm down, reaching and bending. Very nice. Okay, come back to the centre and we finish with our roll down. So beginning nice and tall, we roll down through the spine, peeling away from the wall, one bone at a time, bringing the weight over the front foot just to get that stretch in the front leg. Again, take it steady for the first one, don't push it, and then stacking back up to stand. Good. Second time, so down we go, rolling down. Feeling through the bones in the spine, enjoying that sense of movement at every level. And then we stack back up to stand. Okay, we're going to take this straight into a roll down that brings us onto the mat. So if you just step to the end of your mat, so you've got the length of your mat in front of you. We're only going to do one of these, so I really want you to slowly go through every bone in your spine. Tall to start, lengthening through the spine, and then begin just to draw the chin towards the chest. Imagine a necklace of pearls. Beautiful necklace, just rolling one pearl over the next one, through the necklace, coming to the middle of the necklace, and then the end of the necklace as you get to the bottom of your spine, and then you just lengthen through the back of your legs. The knees can be soft if needed, and bring a little bit of weight into the front of your feet, but just hang there. Keep hanging there, they look great, well done. Just let the back of your neck relax, so you're just looking towards your tummy. Beautiful. Okay, and then we're going to bend the knees so we can bring our hands down to the mat, walk our hands along the mat and bring ourselves into our box position. Okay, I'll give you a second just to adjust your cameras and to find that neutral pelvic position. So we have the tailbone lengthening towards the heels. We have the shoulders drawing down towards the back pockets away from the ears. And we ever so slightly hollow the chest away from the floor. So imagine that there's a handle underneath your breastbone and you're just hollowing away from the heat of that. The back of the neck is lifted, but we stay looking down towards the mat. And we place a tray of drinks between our shoulders. Without spilling that tray of drinks, we take the left hand and we tap either to the right elbow or the right shoulder for a slightly more advanced option. The right hand then touches down, sorry, left hand touches down onto the mat, and we repeat that with the opposite side. So slow taps across to the elbow or the shoulder. Now we know our Pilates well enough to know it doesn't really matter where you're tapping. What does matter is that tray of drinks that's resting on your back. So can you keep that tray of drinks nice and level? And for those of you that want to, you can draw in your pelvic floor, or draw in your lower tummy at the same time, just to create some deeper connections with your inner core system. These look great, guys. Keep them going, just tapping left to right. Really nice stability shoulder work, but also strengthening those wrists as well. So if you need to at any point, just sit back off your wrists, shake your hands out and build back up. Any wrist issues, you can just take your hands a little bit further forward so you're not completely taking your weight through them. Good. Okay, now pause if you want to watch or just keep going, because we're going to add in our leg pull prep. So that's the one where we lift the knees off the mat, but we keep the hips level. So we tuck the toes underneath from here. Tray of drinks now resting on your lower back. Draw the tummy to the spine and hover the knees off the mat. Now the knees stay where they are, and we come back to those taps. Now you might find the shoulder taps have just become a bit more difficult, so you bring them down to the elbow, or you might find the elbow taps feel even hard. So you're just going to tap across to the opposite hand. Okay, so your goal is to not twist as you're tapping, and if you need to, bring the knees down, reset, lift the knees, and come back to your taps. Or you can do as many as you feel you can manage before you take a rest. Oh, Jill, that's Jill's just currently being jumped on by a dog. Everybody else looks great. Well done. So remember, the knees don't have to be lifted. You could just be working beautifully with those shoulder taps. Watch that head, Liz. Just keep the back of the neck lifted. Otherwise, looking great. Well done, everyone. Nice and strong. Now, these are tough, so we're just here a short while longer. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we'll all sit back to the heels and just rest in our shelf stretch for a moment. That one was tough, wasn't it? So lots of upper limb strength for that, bringing in the lower back core and challenging the stability of our spine. So we're not quite finished with that, but we're going to try it in a slightly different way. So we're going to come back to our box position. Remember all of those key points, so tail tucked under, spine is long, shoulders are down, and we're looking towards the mat. Tray of drinks is now resting on the lower back. Without spilling that tray of drinks, we're going to take one leg, slide it along the mat, and float the foot off the mat towards hip height without arching the back. So really keep your tail lengthened towards your heels. We fold the leg back in and we swap and try that on the opposite side. Long leg, lift and lower. Really try and feel that lift. So it's coming from your glutes. So squeeze your hip to float your leg up rather than relying on the movement of your back. So we want to keep that spine as steady as we can and dissociate the movement to the hip as the leg extends up. Keep going, just swapping left and right. Beautiful. You've got it. And remember with this one, you're in narrow corridor, so try not to let your hips go from side to side either. Okay, so there's your level one. You can work on that swimming beautifully, or you could give it a go, combine it with your leg pull. So the toes are turned under, the knees hover off the mat, and then we lengthen one leg out and back in again, and the other leg out and back in. With the option of resting the knees down at any point, okay? It doesn't need to be a held knee lift, but come in and out of it, okay? But whichever option you're doing, keep it going a little while longer. Watch those heads don't start to hang down as things get tired. They're looking good. Keep that tummy active, that pelvic floor engaged. You're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very nice. Knees come down to the mat. We all just sit back to our heels. Oh, we're out of breath after that. Okay, we're going to hold the shell stretch, but we're going to add some breaststroke arms. So hopefully you've got a little bit of space either side of you. So I want you to start with your hands down by your side, by your feet. You're going to bring your arms up along the mat, along the sides of your bodies, overhead to the top of your mat, and then you're going to sweep your arms round and down to the side, as if you're swimming breaststroke in a swimming pool. The hands come back down towards your feet, and then you draw them up the side of your body, and then sweep them round. So as they sweep round, try and have your palms facing the floor, and then you probably find your shoulders just naturally rotate inwards as you bring them up the side of your body. Breathing in as the arms reach up and out as they come down. All the while trying to sit those hips back towards those heels. Good, this is nice. We're going to just do a couple more of these. We're going to come back to this movement in a moment. So I just wanted to introduce it at this point as you stretch out your back and your shoulders. Okay, I think we've all got that pretty well. Okay, just resting there for a moment with your hands by your side and your head down towards the mat. Okay, this is going to bring us onto our fronts now. So if you want to just pause and have a little look at what we're doing, and then you can find your position. So you're going to be lying on your tummy with your head resting on your hands, like so. Okay, so we're going to keep looking down throughout. We want the shoulders opened away from the head, so the neck is long, and we're just working to gently press the front of the pelvis into the mat. So you've got a nice long spine. We're going to keep looking down, but glue the fingertips towards the forehead. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, float the head and shoulders off the mat with the hands, and then we lower down. So breathe in to prepare, breathe out to lift, and lower. So it's upper back extension. Really make sure those shoulders don't creep up towards your ears, and you don't have to bring the head too far off the mat. It could just be a case of lifting your head and hands high enough for me to put the newspaper underneath it, or you could come a little bit higher. Just make sure it's not pinching in your lower back, okay? If you feel like it is, then just try and work a little bit harder to send your tailbone towards your heels, and you'll get nice length in your spine. So we're just lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Upper back, neck, shoulder strength. You've got it, well done. Try not to let your feet lift at the same time, just gently press them into the mat. If that's tricky, don't come quite so high. Okay, so you can stay here, or for those of you that want to, we're going to add those breaststroke arms that we just did when we were in our child's pose. So the head and shoulders lift off the mat, the hands come with it. We reach the hands up to the ceiling, holding the head off the mat, sweep the arms around down to the side, up the sides of the body, back to the head, and then we lower the head down. So you're holding that head lift as the arms sweep through your breaststroke motion, keeping it up, hands come back to the head, and then we lower down. Option, just to add the arms, you can take them out if you feel like it's too much and just work on that lift and lower. Good, nice options there, well done everyone. Beautiful. Lovely, so as your head is lifted, try to keep that same position. So still looking down, don't start to look forwards, keep the back of the neck long. There's a mirror just where your head rests. And you want to keep looking into that mirror as you lift those arms. Okay, we've got 3 more. Full back strengthening here now. 2 more. And 1 more. Lovely. Okay, just rest there. Head on your hands. Just let your head turn to the side. Just rest and just let your back ease out. So lots of that kind of lifting movement just pushes into extension. Okay, we're going to stay on the tummies, but we're going to work the lower part of the body now. So if you want to have a little look, then you can do. So just let your head rest comfortably on your hands. I'm just going to turn to the side so you can hear me more clearly. We want to work on that tail tuck, so lengthen the tail towards the spine. We're going to float one leg up off the mat. Once the leg is lifted, we're going to sweep it out to the side. We're going to bring it back to the centre, and then we lower down. Then we repeat that on the opposite side. The goal with this is as the leg moves, the position of the pelvis doesn't change. So we lift, we lengthen, take to the side, back in, and lower. Keeping the bones at the front of your pelvis equally connected to the mat. Good. So you're coming up with the leg, to the side, try and keep the foot in line with the hip at all times, back to the centre and down. The leg lifts, it abducts, which means moves away from the body, adducts, comes back to the body and lowers down. Good. Got it. Okay, so I'm going to give you an option now. You can keep working with one leg at a time, or have a go at doing both legs together. So keeping the feet hip distance apart, we lift the legs up, we separate the legs, feel that, bring that strength to the side of your hip. We come back to the centre, but not touching, hip distance apart, and lower down. The same movement, but just both legs moving at the same time. Hopefully as you separate those legs, you really do feel how the glute kind of force changes. So it's the big glutes that lift and the side glutes that separate, back to the centre and down. Okay, so you're either doing that single leg and swapping, or double leg. Now with both of those options, you have the additional option of adding in where we started, so floating the head and shoulders off the mat as the leg lifts, holding the head and shoulders lifted as the leg separates, and then lowering back down as the leg lowers. Or if you're feeling like you've got coordination with you on this Tuesday evening, we lift the head as the leg lifts. As the legs separate, we sweep the arms up, round, down, and then lower the head as the leg lowers. Just combining those breaststroke arms with that separating movement of the leg, resisting the temptation to breaststroke your legs at the same time. If that feels like it's too much though, just lift and lower the head with the option of doing 1 or 2 legs at the same time. Let me come and see how those brains are working with that. Oh, very good. Nice. Okay. Don't mind what option you're doing. Looks good. Keep that spine nice and long. Keep it going for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lovely. From here, lower yourself back down onto the mat, but then push back into your shelf stretch again. So we've just done lots of extension through the spine, so we're going to counteract that with a nice deep flex. That should feel lovely as it opens out all of those joints that have just been closed down. Breathe into the shelf stretch. Just sway your pelvis from side to side if you want to. Okay, we have just under 10 minutes, just over 5 minutes. So just going to do some work into the lateral hip, not a huge amount. So bring yourself onto your side, okay? So lying on your side as long as you can be, okay? You've either got your head resting on your arm or you're going to support your head on your hand. Look down towards your legs and just check you can just see the sort of, just the tops of your thighs. If you can see your shins, your feet are a bit too far forwards, okay? Now, for a lot of us, me included, lying straight does make me feel quite wobbly. So you can use the hand just to support you, or you can ever so slightly bend the bottom knee, okay? With the bottom knee bent, though, it's going to make it a bit difficult to do the second challenge with this, but that's fine, okay? Now remember, we don't want the bottom of the waist to squash down into the mat, so try and send your hip towards your heels, just to stack those hip bones up. Glass of wine on that top hip. It's a nice evening. I think it's a good evening for a glass of wine. Okay, we're all going to just begin with some leg lifts and lowers. Super simple, but make them nice and precise. So the hip stays in a nice line with the body as it lifts and lowers. And we're also making sure that this hip doesn't collapse into the ribs as we lift the leg. So just keeping that little gap underneath your waist as the leg lifts and lowers. What that means is that you're using your glutes rather than relying on a tilting motion of your pelvis. I'm going to go straight into second option for those of you that want to. We're not going to do anything fancy with these. We're just doing lifts and lowers. So breathing out as you lift, in as you lower. For those of you that want to, both leg lifts and lowers. A little bit harder with this to not lose that bottom pelvis position, so don't worry as much about that. Floating the legs up and bringing them down. We did this a couple of weeks in class, those of you that come face to face with the ball between our feet, so I just thought I'd add it back in because it's not something we often do. Okay, if that feels like it's too much though, bring that bottom leg down and just work on that top leg. Remembering you can draw that pelvic floor in as you lift the weight of your leg if you want to. I'm hoping that you're all starting to feel that nice glow on that top hip. I am, and I think I've done a few less than you, so let's do 6 more all together. See how you're getting on with those. Yeah, that looks good. Well done, everyone. That's 5 more. Imagine someone stretching your legs away from your body. 4 more. If you find it uncomfortable on your bottom hip, you can roll ever so slightly forwards. 3 more. 2 more. And 1 more. Lovely. Okay, let's lower those legs down and just bend the knees. Give the hip a bit of a pat. Okay, straight over to the second side, straight into your second side. So we're just going to bring yourself onto your opposite hip. Stretch those legs out. Bottom leg can be slightly bent if you need to, and you're either lying flat or your head resting on your hands. Okay, let's all just start with that lovely top leg lifting and lowering. Imagine you're lying against a wall and you're just sliding your leg up and down that wall. Stack your hips on top of one another. Just do yourself a little bit of a check underneath your waist. Make sure your waist is lifted away from the floor. Just enough to put a little marshmallow in. Looking good. Liz, you could probably roll a little bit forwards, I think, towards your camera. Yeah, that's it. Good. Okay, super. So for those of you that want to, bring that second leg in. So we lift, legs together and lower. Lift and lower. Gently press the feet to one another and you'll be creating a little bit more stability in the inner thigh, your adductor muscles. Okay, we've got 6, 5, 4, breathing out to lift in to lower, or just breathing, 3, really helps. 2, 1 more, 1, and lower down, well done, lower down and bend those knees. Okay, we are done. We're just going to come onto the back and just do some back opening work. So just roll onto your back from where you are. Okay, and bring your knees towards your chest. So just start by hugging your knees to begin with. Now you can just hang out here for a little bit, otherwise you can join me with our rolling like a ball, which is an exercise, but it was inspired by Rafe, who's my little boy. So sometimes he gives me moves that we're going to practice. So rolling like a ball, what you start to do is draw your knees towards your chest, bringing a momentum to bring weight to the top of your back and then to the lower part of your back. And your goal is when you come up to sit, you find that balance point so that your feet don't touch onto the mat. So you just pause at the top and then roll backwards. It takes control, it takes strength, and it takes a little bit of guts as well, because it's tough to kind of bring yourself onto your back. Okay, keep it going a little while longer, or just hug your knees towards your chest if you're not up for the rolling option. But it's really nice just to massage your back into the mat. 2 more. And then just bring this next one to bring yourself back to sit. Oh, and we're all up. Good work, everyone. Okay.